Hello, everybody. I am James LaRocca, and I will be your student's math teacher this year. And to those of you who I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting, welcome to Seabury. I teach the 6th grade math class and the two 7th grade math classes, Math 7 and Algebra 1. The Math 7 class acts as a bridge class between the 6th grade math and the Algebra 1 class, and the Algebra 1 class acts as an accelerated math class for students who are ready for the challenge of a faster-paced, higher-level math class. Now, I always try to be upfront about this with students and parents, that the Algebra 1 class can be a bit overwhelming for some students in the difficulty spike. One of the biggest challenges for students tends to be the recognition that they are no longer in an easy class. I have heard kids in the past complain about the difficulty jump between Math 7 and Algebra 1, and my response is always, well, this is meant to be an accelerated class. Algebra is not generally a 7th grade level math class. I will usually have some students in 6th grade who are able to coast through with an easy A, and then come to algebra and realize, oh, this isn't making sense the first time. Oh, I need to actually study this time. And sometimes hitting that realization can be a real stumbling block. But if you showed me in 6th grade that you were ready for this challenge, that you want to move on to more difficult math, this is that class. I do not put students in Algebra 1 lightly. I tend to look at things like their study habits, their placement test, and for those who were here in 6th grade, their overall performance in class. Did they show me that they were ready for the challenge? Did they show me that they could be prepared and organized for class and that they weren't still working on the struggles of organization or keeping up with due dates? Now, to be fair, I do still expect these to be a bit of a struggle just for any developing 7th grader, and that is okay. That is something that we will work on in 7th grade, how to best organize their material, how to keep a schedule, and they will even have a study hall period at the end of the day where they'll be able to build that time management skill and use that time to meet with their teachers regarding homework or test prep or any other skills that they're struggling with. But more about algebra specifically. Regarding supplies, the students all have access to an electronic textbook. It is the Glencoe Algebra 1 book. It is available on their iPad. I have discussed with them how to download the app and how to log in and given them all the usernames and passwords, so hopefully they've managed to get that figured out. If not, there's no rush, but I would encourage them to figure it out sooner rather than later, because I'd rather they email me with questions if they're having trouble logging in now rather than when we get around to using the book. That said, the book is really more of a supplementary tool. While I use the book as a guideline of what chapters and what sections we're going to be covering, I tend to rely more on worksheets as they allow for more space for students to work on, and it allows me to cherry pick problems from the book that I think best represent the material or allow me to write my own questions. Graphing calculators will be required for this class. As it is the algebra class, there will be a lot of solving and graphing equations. The Algebra 1 class focuses on linear equations for the bulk of the year. However, the last quarter and a half introduce exponential and quadratic functions, and we'll be looking at how to create these on our graphing calculators by putting numbers into tables, creating scatter plots, and using the functions and algorithms on the calculator to find information about the graphs. One thing we will do when we get to chapter 9 is I will show them how to write a quadratic formula program for their calculator so they can input the numbers and get the answers. I like to see this as an introduction to coding on a calculator. The syllabus video on Schoology goes into a bit more detail, especially about the types of calculators that I recommend, but just know that whatever the student can have at this point is going to be fine. My recommendations are primarily towards what I know will be permitted on future tests like the SAT, and what calculators I have experienced and will be teaching from. So the TI-83 and the TI-84 are the go-to choices for calculators when it comes to graphing calculators. But if a student chooses to use something more advanced or a different model or a different brand, that's totally fine. As long as they're able to get their hands on a user's guide or a PDF online for how to use their calculator, because every calculator is a little bit different, and I cannot promise that I will know all the ins and outs of their specific calculator. I also do have a small class set of calculators that students can use if need be. I've seen everything from I left my calculator at home to I forgot to charge my calculator to the finals show up and I don't have a calculator because I've been sharing a calculator with my older sibling. So, I know these things happen. So I have a class set just in case. But I do encourage students to get their own calculator to learn the ins and outs of their calculator so that when a test rolls around, they are familiar with their technology and not using it for the first time. I also strongly recommend that students write their name on their calculator, preferably with a permanent marker on both the calculator itself and the cover, not just one or the other. just to be on the safe side. The structure of the class this year will be a little different from the past, as I am experimenting with doing a completely flipped classroom model. The idea here is that I will do as little lecturing as possible, and our synchronous class time, our face-to-face time or Zoom time, will be focused on going over student questions from the notes or the homework, or practicing the material. I really want to utilize our time as a practice time so that students can do work while getting the chance to ask me when they have questions, or just to have me there to double check as they're going along, make sure they're doing things correctly, or anything about the work that they are unsure about. The videos will serve as the lecture material. I try to limit them to 5 to 15 minutes depending on how much is covered in the video. Sometimes I will break them up into multiple videos so they can have a part 1 and a part 2, just to limit how much is in there. The nice thing about the videos is it allows a bit more flexibility with when the students are working on their math homework, and it allows them to rewatch them multiple times if they need the extra practice. Every video will be accompanied by a notes handout that will include things like filling in blanks for vocab words, examples that I will work through in the videos that they can work through along with me, and some practice problems for them to do on their own. When we have class together, we start by going over those practice problems as well as any questions from the video that they might have. The note sheets will not be turned in. That is for the students to keep. It is their own guided notes handout. What students will work on and turn in are the practice worksheets. These are not for a grade and primarily serve as a formative assessment. I will collect them so I can give the students quick feedback on what they did correct or incorrect and what they need to work on moving forward. My goal here is to reduce the amount of stress that comes along with the math class. I know that this has been a very difficult year and will likely continue to be a very difficult year for all of us. So I'm working hard to give the students more support, more time, and more flexibility, and reduce stress as much as I can. I also want to make sure that you know that on the Schoology page, there is a link to a Google document that is a weekly schedule. So students can go there to see what we're covering in class each day and what homework assignments are being given that day. Anytime I'm requiring them to watch a video or complete a worksheet, there will be links on that document to the appropriate folders in Schoology. So hopefully it'll be easy to navigate and they can find what they need. Everything will be in appropriately named folders for each chapter, and every video, notes handout, and practice worksheet will share the same numbering conventions and name, so they should be easy to identify regarding what is the video, notes handout, and assignment for each lesson. Their primary source of graded material will come in the review assignments at the end of each chapter, any projects that we have in the class, and the tests we have at the end of each chapter. Now, with the tests, much like with the homework, my goal is to reduce stress and encourage practice and perseverance. My goal here is not to say, we've reached the test, do your best, okay, you got your grade, let's move on to the next thing. My goal is to have students master the material, or at least reach a level of proficiency that is both satisfactory to them and to myself. While I always tell students, I don't personally care if you get an A or not, I care that you are putting in as much effort as you can. If a student is struggling and works hard and manages to pull off a B, then I am very happy for that student because they have shown me that they have worked hard and that they have improved. That said, I want to give students the opportunity to always do better. Students will have the option of doing retakes. I will require them to meet with me to go over things that they missed on the test and to produce some practice material before they do a retake, but I will keep that option open so that if a student is, feeling like they could have done better, they just made one little thing, or it just wasn't their day to take a test, didn't sleep well, or they were feeling under the weather, I am going to be flexible with that. Right now, my goal is to have them build a solid foundation. They can worry about the importance of a deadline and the importance of getting the test done and moving on later. It's 2020, things are tough enough as it is. I am putting a strong emphasis on grace before grades. I also want to strongly encourage you to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns, whether it's about your students' performance or anything about how the class is structured or any expectations. You can reach me at my Seabury email address. I try to be very responsive when it comes to emails and get back to you, within a day if at all possible. Again, my goal is to be as supportive as I can. So if there's anything I can do to help your student either understand the material or build better study habits, that is my goal, and I will do everything I can to help with that. Structurally, my expectation for the class is that each lesson, students will get access to a video and the notes handout that goes with the video. They will watch the video at least once and complete the handout before the next class. In class, we'll begin by going over the notes, and then they'll get the practice worksheet. The other thing that students will have to do is they will need to watch the video and complete the handout before the next class period. That way we can move on to the next topic for the next class. Now, as I am saying this, I have found that this has worked out fairly well for the first couple weeks of class for all my classes, but again, this is my first time doing a flipped classroom, and I'm going to be very flexible with the schedule as we move forward. I'm going to see how manageable it is to have that kind of structure for a daily class as opposed to a twice a week class like we currently have. And just so you are aware, if things don't actually work out as well as I hope, I will be adapting and adjusting the schedule moving forward to adjust for how much is a reasonable expectation, both from my end of the video filming and editing and from the students' end as far as watching the videos and getting things turned in. So right now my plan is to try and do 3 or 4 videos per class per week, but we'll see how that goes. So just understand that while there is a plan, I am going to be very flexible with this based on both what I can do and what the students can do. If students are in need of supplementary material, either for extra help on something, or if they want enrichment materials, something more challenging, those are both ends of the spectrum that I strongly support and will provide for. Finally, I want to just say thank you to all of our parents, both new and returning. I cannot tell you how wonderful it has been being a part of the Seabury community. This will be my 5th year here, and I cannot imagine working at a better, more welcoming school community. I find that our Seabury families are some of the most supportive and caring and hardworking individuals that I have had the pleasure to know. So thank you for everything that you do and all of your support in helping us make our connected learning program a success and all of the hard work that will go into making this school year a success. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns, or if you just want to chat. I'm always happy to know how things are going for my students, both in and out of school. I look forward to working with you all this year, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.